Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Tank Observers podcast. My name is Jackson McCarty, joined by my buddy Kaden Brown. And Kaden, what are we doing today?
Hey man, we're just going to go over some more college football stuff.
Yeah, we're going to hit on some of those big points, some stuff more or less looking forward to next year. We have one that could be in play this offseason, mostly some stuff that we're targeting for the next. So, pretty simple, just hitting on a bunch of headlines. So, without further ado, Kaden, who do you think has more potential at this stage? DJ Uiagalelei or Bryce Young?
Well, here's one of the biggest points I wanted to make. Was it's hard to tell this early.
Yes.
Uiagalelei looked really great filling in for Trevor Lawrence whenever he had COVID and he was out for those 2 games. Which it's hard to fill in for a guy like Trevor Lawrence. You saw how dearly he was missed in that Notre Dame game. Still, Uiagalelei pushed it to double overtime. He played great.
Yes.
Here's my thing with Uiagalelei. I think he's already shown great talent against college level talent, which is what we've not seen from Bryce Young. Bryce Young, I expect him to come into a really great situation. What I like from Uiagalelei, I like his pre-snap reads. I like his pocket awareness.
Yes. Very, very aware quarterback. Knows what's going on.
Absolutely. And I know pre-snap reads is something you hear people throw around a lot, and you're just like, it's just quarterback gargle.
Right.
Like, you're just
jargon.
Throwing that around, blah, blah, blah. But this is a real deal for Uiagalelei. You saw him specifically, I'm sorry about that.
Here you go.
Specifically in the Bowling Green game, I think it was, or it may have been Boston College, one of the two. Whoever they were playing, it was the first game without Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
Boston College, okay. So it's a pre-snap read. I want to think it was like it was on his first drive, and he immediately sees the free rusher.
Okay.
So you see him call that out. He identifies that, and then on his first read from that, throws it to he checks down to ETN. And ETN takes it to the house. Which I know that's not going to happen every time. It's ETN.
No.
That's a very
he's a special talent.
Yeah, that's not going to happen every time. But for him to identify that and play off that is great. Now, one thing I was going to say about Bryce Young, I think he'll end up in a better situation than DJ.
Yes. Solely
based on the fact that Saban is so great at protecting his quarterbacks. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the offensive line.
The offensive line doesn't help, or doesn't hurt, though.
It doesn't hurt. But Bama quarterbacks, they're never asked to do more than what they're capable of. The reason Saban is the GOAT of college football is because he's grown with the game.
Yeah, he knows where those limits are, and he figures out how to not push them and still maximize who you are as a player.
Right. Now, I made a note here. I said he's excelled in the game with game managers.
Yes.
And he's made plays with playmakers. No matter his quarterback play, he'll find a way to get them into a stride. He'll find a way to make them comfortable, and he'll find a way to win games.
He can win a national championship with the A.J. McCarrons or the Tua Tagovailoa.
Exactly.
And I think Bryce Young is by no means a slouch. I think he's a great quarterback. But I have to ride the early hand with DJ because who goes 6 rounds with one of the best teams in the nation? I know we were giving Notre Dame static, but realistically we do think mutually that they are no lower than top 7. Who goes 6 rounds with injuries on your defense and in your first game? You don't just do that, especially not when you're replacing a guy like Trevor Lawrence. That value, the fact that he stepped in and controlled that value, I know a lot of it has to do with, you just don't have tape on these guys. Does it really matter when you're going up against a defense with 5, 6, 7 players that can realistically make the jump to the NFL? He's just a phenomenal talent. I don't think he's terribly far off from Trevor. I know that we have this fantasized version of Trevor Lawrence that is the Lord and Savior of college football, but I don't think that he's a perfect player. I don't think DJ's a perfect player, and I think that gap isn't all that far.
Right.
Regardless, Bryce looked great. He went pedal to the metal against Arkansas. He never let up whatsoever, and I like the fact that he seems maybe not as competitive as Mac Jones with everything we hear about him about being torn up to pieces and looking for vengeance if he misses a pass in practice. But I think with Saban's help, Bryce Young could very easily become the better quarterback. But for now, I'm going to ride the hot hand with DJ.
And to tee off on your point before we move on there, Dabo even made the comment in camp. Sometimes there's plays where Ugalele makes Trevor look normal.
Yeah.
Which was like one of the golden quotes that I took from those games when I was watching that. Dabo, I know it's known that Dabo likes to kind of a little bit, but that is something that you don't just say about a future first overall pick.
Yeah. No.
I mean, you're not going to say anything you don't have to hurt his image. But for him to say that says a lot. That speaks a lot about what Ugalele's doing.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at guys like Belichick, whenever he's downplaying the quarterbacks that are in his camp, he's infamous for being the complete opposite of Dabo. You still, even if you are a guy who likes to talk and likes to scare the opponent a bit with what you're saying, you don't say that unless you mean it. So I think that both of these powerhouses are in great hands.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, what coach in a Matt Rule type of situation do you think makes the best NFL head coach to transfer over? You want me to go first, or you got it?
I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay. I've decided to go with my boy, Luke Fickell. I have so many boys in college football coaching. Fickell is definitely amongst the elite for me.
Mm-hmm.
He has done stuff at Cincy that I didn't really think would happen in my lifetime. Because, growing up, we would watch the AAC, and immediately we'd kick it over to Sunbelt football. Right, because what's the fun in it? You got Memphis, you got UCF.
Mm-hmm.
They're cool programs, but they're not the big hitters. Luke Fickell has made Cincy look like a big hitter.
Yes.
And if he can knock off Georgia like we were talking about in the last episode, I think that his next logical step, rather than taking a job at kind of like where Brian Harsin did Auburn, I think the next logical step is to go fill the shoes in Atlanta or Cincinnati, or not Cincinnati. Well, actually, maybe Cincinnati. They might fire Zach Taylor. Regardless, he's hot off the heels of rebuilding that program. He's got this knack for finding talent
mm-hmm.
and elevating them, which is a lot of what we would see from Matt Rule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of them are, stellar X's and O's guys. They kind of fall closer in line to Brian Flores, who's making a monster in Miami.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Luke Fickell is kind of more closer to my dark horse, but I still love him for the situation.
Yeah, I can see that for sure, and I love Fickell.
Yes.
And like you mentioned Brian Flores, I think of more of a Rabel in Tennessee.
Fair.
Which is kind of cool because those two are actually best friends.
Really? Fickell and Vrabel?
They're boys. Like,
Ooh,
one of the boys. Yeah, so he could have his foot in the door somewhere if he were to want to go that route. But for the sake of the conversation, since you went with Fickell there, I'm going to go with super easy. It's going to be boring to talk about, but Lincoln Riley. I mean, okay. He's shown no interest in the league. Like, no interest. He has made it very clear several times, I don't want to go to the NFL. I'm fine in Oklahoma. I want to stay here. But he would be the most interesting golden child since McVay in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
When McVay set the world on fire in 2018, that's how people got jobs, man. Everyone was looking for that McVay. They were looking for that offensive brainiac, young, handsome, flashy. They wanted that. That's why you got guys like the head coach over there in Green Bay.
This
Cliff
is
Kingsbury.
Yeah, this is who I think that they were trying to hire when they got Cliff Kingsbury.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar as far as what it appears to be to the team. They're both young. They're offensive geniuses.
Right.
But I think Lincoln Riley has more or less actually earned his stripes.
Well, and Jackson, the funny thing about it is I make that point right here.
Oh, really?
I said, when I'm going in on it, I say he's young, only 37. That's like a baby in NFL terms. I mean, you got McVay, who's right in there in that same boat. Under 40 to coach in the NFL was almost unheard of.
I mean, he's younger than Fickell. Fickell's 47.
Right. And that's considered young.
Yeah, that's still, as long as you're not above that 60 range, you're still a pretty young head coach.
But I said he's young, he's handsome, and the man knows offense.
Yeah.
And because I don't know why that became a thing back in like 2018. whenever Kingsbury got that job, all you ever heard about, well, what about his record at Texas Tech? He's handsome. Okay.
Yeah, he went below 500, but looks really good in pictures, and he has a dope house.
He is extremely attractive. And I touch on that in a league that's so offensive, it's so offensive based.
Mm-hmm.
He would undoubtedly find success. I love McVay's offense. What he runs, he looks like anytime he loses a game, you're kind of shocked because from the first offensive snap, McVay looks like he has the game under control.
Yes.
So, and I see that a lot from Lincoln Riley. We see the same mold with Cliff Kingsbury. We see when we look at Lincoln Riley, and I make this note in terms of coaching ability. I would be willing to see Lincoln get shot because I think Lincoln's the better coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Kingsbury still hasn't really shaken off that he's handsome thing.
Yeah.
We're not really talking about what he's doing as a coach because we're looking at Kyler Murray and how he is as just a solo performer, and how DeAndre Hopkins is able to catch anything within a 3-mile radius.
Exactly.
We're still not talking about Kingsbury as a legitimate head coach. Lincoln could come in, and even though he has the same earmarks as LaFleur and as McVay and Shanahan and Kingsbury, he could come in being the most, that is a great football coach.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it, there's going to be questions around the whole, has he won a big game yet? You look at his ball record, he's 0-3 so far.
Right.
Hopefully looking to get a win up here in this upcoming bowl season. But you have to dive into those games individually because, I mean, one that was extremely close to being a bowl victory was the game against Georgia in the Sugar Bowl that year.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, or the Rose Bowl. Excuse me. But there's really no doubt, there's no question his coaching resume. I mean, the dude has won the Big 12 every year since its return back in 2017. It's 4 times in a row now that he's won the Big 12 championship.
Which I would argue is the second hardest division or conference in football.
And that's something you have to put on his coaching resume. There's talks about how, like I said, you can't win the big game, but for you to come out, your biggest goal as a coach is to win a championship, no doubt. But your second goal, right under that, I'm going to win my conference. I'm going to come out and I'm going to be the best team in my conference every single year. And 4 years in a row now, he's proven that.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley is such a smart individual. And I'm not personally worried about the bowl games when you look for that transfer over because it seems almost as if he's better at building NFL talent than he is building college talent.
I mean, 2 Heismans in a row.
Yeah, and could have been 3 realistically had Hurts just had a few more lucky breaks.
He kind of fizzled out there towards the end.
Right.
But, I mean, Hurts, and look at Hurts now. I mean,
yeah, he's starting Philly.
It's a few games in, but, I mean, he's looked great.
Yeah, he looks like a potential guy to push Carson Wentz completely out of the city of brotherly love.
Right, and then you look at Rattler. Early in the season, he looked a little shaky, but here we are down the season. He's improved.
Yeah, he's back to competing with Sam Howell and Keaton Slovis for that first overall pick in the next year's draft. But yeah, no, both of those coaches make a lot of sense for me. I could see both of them getting plenty of offers in the next couple of months. Oh yeah. Next up, we're looking at underperforming teams. Who do we think is going to have the best bounce back year? Kaden, go ahead and take it away.
Homer pick here. Look, I promise it's not my agenda to get Ole Miss into these podcasts every single time. But look, Ole Miss goes 4-5.
Yes.
You know, there was a unlucky break there late in the LSU game that prevented them from going 500. So it's a homer pick, yeah. But I don't think enough credit is given to what Kiffin has done in his inaugural year in Oxford.
Yeah.
So for you to come in, none of these people are your guys. These are not your recruits.
No.
The culture that you're coming into is not your culture. You kind of look at what Ole Miss has turned into after the Sugar Bowl victories and all the great success they had with Chad Kelly and company.
Right.
It's for lack of a better word, it's a carcass. It is just a rotting, decaying.
Yeah, that bowl ban and the prospect stuff really did do a toll on the program.
It looks nothing like they were.
No.
You had a few exciting pieces. You had Dawson Knox, you had Metcalf, you had A.J. Brown. Those are great players that are making a lot of noise in the NFL now. And that's the worst thing to watch as an Ole Miss fan on Sundays. Whenever those guys are balling out, people love to bring up the fact, do you guys know that Dawson Knox, DK Metcalf, and A.J. Brown all played in the same offense at Ole Miss? And they were below 500.
Yeah.
And we know, okay? We get it.
It's like, yeah, we're very well aware. We didn't have a defense to field that year.
And we didn't have an offense really either. Like, the offense was just lackluster. It was boring to watch. It was hard to watch Ole Miss games on Saturdays. So for Kiffin to come in, no training camp, no preventive measures to like kind of get used to the team. For him to come in and go 4-5 in an all SEC defense, break the record for offensive yards per game with Matt Corral throwing the football. Matt Corral's talented, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really like to take care of the football.
No. He's a bit of a sloppier player.
So for him to come in and do what he did, I think it's understated how difficult it is with the first year with the team.
Yeah, it's none of your guys.
No.
0% of that is you.
You have to gain their trust. You have to implement your offense. You have to implement what you're trying to accomplish here at this team. And I think he's done an outstanding job. Look at that culture now. To get on there on Twitter, is specifically Twitter. And I know that's kind of a goofy thing to talk about, but that's where we're at in this generation.
Yeah, social media wins prospects. Now.
They came out with the statistics, and Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, they had the most engagement out of any college football coach in the nation. Lane Kiffin, I know, and that's another thing he gets bagged on about because, maybe if he worked a little bit more on his game plan instead of his social media game. No, I mean, he knows what he's doing. The come to the sip, what I was wearing last podcast, that's winning prospects.
Yeah, you're getting your name into kids' heads.
Right, exactly. So for them to go 4-5 this year, them to come in, surprise everybody after signing day, they have a top 20 recruiting class.
Yeah.
There's going to be fireworks next season. I look for Lane Kiffin in his second year. It could go one of two ways, of course. I think they're going to come out and make fireworks. The offense is going to be running on all cylinders. He's going to have more of his guys in place. He went defensive heavy in recruiting. He's going to try to field a defense that's actually worth watching. Hopefully can help them not have some basketball-type scores.
Yeah.
I mean, the 50s,
shootouts,
50s and 60s, something like that. But
putting up more than the Clippers can put up at halftime.
Right, exactly. You had to throw that in. Mavs fan over here.
I had to. But it happens.
I think with year two, he's going to have a little bit more flavor in what he's trying to do, and I'm excited to see what they can do. After an all-SEC schedule going 4-5 in itself is pretty impressive.
Very.
So to see what he can do next year, I'm pretty excited for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there were a couple of SEC teams you could have potentially gotten in there. You've got Arkansas, who with Sam Pittman looking like he's going to figure it out. I think you have Mississippi State even. Mike Leach, he's a very seasoned coach. He knows how to work things. I'm not sold on the air raid, but it happens. I even considered putting Missouri here because I just love how Eli Drinkwitz has handled things moving in, but they weren't quite eligible for a bounce-back year. Give me P.J. Fleck and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. P.J. Fleck, another one of the illustrious Jackson McCarty's coaching boys, and was a candidate to make the NFL switch for me. Yep. But I trust PJ. This is only his third year to ever go below 500. Both of them were his first seasons, one at Minnesota and then at Western Michigan. He's not a loser. He doesn't lose games.
No, I love Fleck.
Yeah, I think that with how he handles players, he doesn't have the illustrious recruiting classes. You can't get kids to come to Minnesota. It's too cold. Mm-hmm. It's not Michigan.
Right.
It's just the wrong M in the Big 12.
It's not flashy.
No. But he knows how to win games with his mind. He is a big X's and O's guy, and one that I think if you don't respect him and you don't put all effort forth, he's going to come in there and he's going to show you how to play football. So with another year of kind of resetting the pieces after what was a strange year, I think that they'll be fighting for the Big Ten championship next year. I wouldn't be at all shocked if they maintain a toe-to-toe performance against Ohio State.
I mean, you look at what he did last season. Yeah. I mean, that wasn't just a Cinderella story. He was going toe-to-toe with the big people of that conference. I mean, those are like the blue bloods, if you want to call them that. He was going toe-to-toe with them and rode the boat. I mean, he had you buying in every single time you watched an interview. I'm a big Pat McAfee guy. Yes. I love Pat McAfee's podcast. I love his show. Whenever Fleck would come on, you would just feel like you were ready to run through a brick wall for that guy.
Exactly, man. He's got such a great blend of the Flores mindset of these are my guys, and I'm going to take you to war every weekend. Mm-hmm. And he's got the acumen that it takes to be a real, legitimate head coach, know your X's and O's, know the most efficient way to beat this team, and what players you're going to use and what schemes. He's got such just a creative outlook that I found it hard to believe that Minnesota even went 3-4 this year with opt-outs and all the difficulties surrounding Rashad Bateman eventually not coming back. But I think that they're a real candidate to not even see 2 losses next year. Moving on to the last thing we're going to talk about, let's focus on players that we have not yet seen in their current uniform. Who do we think in the transfer portal has the best shot at becoming something special at their new college? Kaden, I'll let you kick it off.
This one may surprise you. I like Charlie Brewer to Utah.
Ooh, Baylor boy.
Yeah.
Baylor boy. Okay.
I really wanted to go Mackenzie Milton.
Yes.
Because I loved the electric, the fireworks he created whenever he was back with UCF. But it's kind of, he's headed into Florida State with an already packed quarterback room. I find it hard to believe he'll find a starting role coming off that devastating leg injury.
Right.
So I went with Charlie Brewer. He's a year removed from a career year under Matt Rule. A lot of that could maybe be given to Matt Rule's offense, his ability to get the best out of players.
Yes.
But he's looking to find a spark. So I like the position he's heading into with Utah. The thing about it is Jaquindon Jackson will also be traveling from Texas to Utah.
Right. So
that's going to make things interesting in the quarterback room. But what I think it's going to do for Brewer, I think it's going to motivate him a little bit. I think he's going to see this guy coming, hey, buddy, I've had snaps. I've played in Big 12 championship games.
Before you proceed, and I'll let you get back to your point, is there some kind of pipeline from Texas to the Utes that I don't know about? Because Waco and Austin both sending their quarterbacks out to Utah is a bit. I didn't even know Jaquindon was going to Utah.
Yeah, so Jaquindon, he announced he was going first, actually. And
really?
Then Brewer, not even a day later, said, hey, I'm going too.
He said, hey, guess what? One of us is about to be Nick Starkel.
So that's how that goes. But I really think it's going to motivate him a little bit. He's taken snaps. He's played the college game. Jaquindon, he's just very... He's very talented, don't get me wrong. You watch his high school tape, oh my gosh.
Yes, he's a highlight reel guy.
But the thing is, you can watch a lot of guys' high school tape. I mean, but you can't just show ability from experience. I guess what I'm trying to say is the experience will outweigh talent sometimes.
Yes.
Because you can have all the talent in the world, but if you've never seen a freaking 300-pound defensive tackle screaming at you,
what's the matter?
No. You're going to kind of panic back there a little bit. But Brewer's he's been under the big lights. He's made plays. He's shown that he can perform. Matt Rule, what they did with that team whenever Matt Rule was there, that's impressive. It's been a while since Baylor has been, notable. So for them to do what they did last year was pretty great to watch.
Right.
You know me, I'm a quarterback junkie.
You are.
I love to consume guys. I love to consume tape on these guys. I can sit there and just watch a whole class of quarterback tape. I love it. Brewer can be your typical game manager, which is what Utah kind of needs. They like to pound the rock a little bit.
They do.
So you can have a guy who can get you a decent ball on the sidelines on man coverage when you're pounding the rock. You're going to have guys sending you cover zero a lot. Brewer can do that. He can get you the ball down the sideline. What I love about him most, what jumps off the tape when I watch his ball placement.
Yes.
He had a Denzel Mims at Baylor, which, you may not have at Utah. But when he had Mims, he had other guys in Baylor. The dude could just, he puts the ball in the best place for your receiver to go up and make a play.
Hey, he's a super accurate guy. He has such a good feel with the ball, and he knows how to manipulate it like very few quarterbacks do. He doesn't have quite the athletic upside or just the pure talent or potential. But he is a very solid into his role guy. That imagine what Utah could do with Charlie Brewer and then had Zach Moss not left. Imagine how that offense would have been.
It would have been scary. I mean, and that's the thing. Utah's going to make plays. They're one of those teams where they don't ever explode off the page at you, but you just see this consistent good play from them. They know what they're capable of. They know what they can do, and I think adding a guy like Charlie Brewer, you're going to have some great plays from him. Charlie Brewer he just fits in right there. I just said, he's not flashy. He's not going to jump off the page at you, but he's going to come in. He's going to play in an offense where he's not asked to do more than what he's capable of.
Yeah, he's a very Utah guy, and that looks like a very comfortable landing spot for him.
And he's got another thing. He's showing some arm at times. Like, hey, he can loft it up there if you need him to go do that. So you pound the rock a few times up the middle, run some zone, run some power. And then you kind of see those guys. You see those safeties creeping in the box. Hey, you better watch out. Brewer can throw it over your head.
That'll certainly be a fun one to watch. You went for somebody who has a bit more experience. I ended up going with somebody who I believe has only thrown like 24 passes in football, and that would be Tanner Mordecai. He's leaving Oklahoma, and he's going to SMU. And in the little spurts, I was pretty impressed with who he is. Oklahoma has a tendency to bring in too many quarterbacks. They love... Because that has become Lincoln Riley's trademark.
That would be kind of my deal if I was a coach.
Just bring in too many arms.
Give me the quarterbacks.
Give me 6-7 arms. The transfer portal works. The interesting thing I found about Tanner Mordecai, he's going from Lincoln Riley to the OC at SMU, who is Garrett Riley, his brother. And the fact that the confidence level in this young man was high enough for Garrett to call Lincoln and be like, hey, what do we think about this guy? Let me know. And he said, dude, take him. We can't use him because we have Rattler, but he's a special talent.
Yeah.
And I love Sonny Dykes out there at SMU, and great name. And this, because the SMU Mustangs are back, finally.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun to watch.
After the Pony Express and the bands and the black label of death, that they got, it's so nice to see guys like Shane Bushele coming out there, and they've got a couple different players that you could see make the jump to the NFL. I think Tanner Mordecai, with a year, because he is going to be a senior, with a year of playing in that system, I think that he could have a lot of fun here, and I could see his name showing up on draft nights.
Yeah, and you made a mention of it in your notes. You could see him become a riser in the draft. I agree with you completely. I mean, you see that a lot. Not as often as you'd think, but you see it a lot where guys come in from different programs. They were great. They were great talents where they were. They were just kind of hidden in the depth chart.
Yeah.
Well, then you got guys who come out and they perform. Not to the same extent, but you can kind of look at Jalen Hurts, what happened with Alabama.
Yeah.
He had, like I said, he already had some experience, so it wasn't really surprising. But you saw him go out there to Oklahoma after leaving Alabama. He was kind of under Tua back in that Alabama offense. And then you see him kind of just blow up in Oklahoma. He performed well.
You said to the lesser extent, Jalen and Tua. I've got pulled up here so an ESPN cover that just recently came to light to me. It's of Chase Daniel and then his backup at the time, Chase Patton. And the headline says, Chase Daniel might win the Heisman. His backup could win the Super Bowl. I think you could get similar vibes from Mordecai and Rattler.
Yeah.
Which I don't want either one of them to turn out like Chase Patton and or Chase Daniel at the NFL.
Yeah.
But you could get similar visions, and I honestly, once it's all said and done, I wouldn't be shocked to see Mordecai fighting for supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm right there with you. I like Mordecai's game. I really do. And for him to, like you said, for him to go from Lincoln over to Garrett, I think he's in good hands. I mean, he's going to be put in an area. He's going to be put in an offense. He's going to be put into a system where he can succeed, and he's going to be able to show off what he's capable of.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of great guys, even people that we've seen underperform, like Jared Guarantano from Tennessee. He's transferring. A lot of different skill positions, but these two feel very well like they're going to be something special when they get out. So that's been our podcast.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. I think we hit all of our points, and maybe we convinced some people back home.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty well put together. I like your points. The points that we touched on today, they were fun to talk about. Especially like now that we're kind of entering that kind of gray area between bowl season and regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of times where fans kind of like, well, what am I going to do until then? Man, there's still a lot to follow in college football right now.
Yeah, you're getting to watch all the faces change. You're getting to watch these guys that you spent hours and hours of seeing them play live on the field. Now you're going to get to see where they're going to the NFL and how that pans out. College is such a special and linking part to the NFL that draft season is truly one of my favorite seasons.
Absolutely, that's what I was going to touch on next. We're kind of nearing the final countdown here. Draft season's around the corner for you. I know you're.
Oh, I've been in draft season since like September.
Yeah. Hard for you to sleep at night, right?
Oh God, yeah.
You're just so excited.
I was up working on a draft analysis literally last night.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, not one bit. But yeah, Kaden, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'm for sure it will not be the last one.
Yeah, absolutely not.
But yeah, no, the next podcast you see with my face on it will be with Topher, and we'll make sure to have Kaden back on the pod, probably bringing up some SEC football, making sure you know to come to the SIP. But for now, I'm Jackson McCarty.
I'm Kaden Brown.
We'll see you guys next time.
But is he the best player in this draft on his own? Without a doubt.